As I understand it, you guys have now grown your ranks to over 70 employees. Congratulations on that.
Thanks. It's a big step for the company. Growth in key areas, focusing really on sales, Eguana Cloud development, and some extra bodies in Australia, which is becoming very, very exciting for the company.
Okay, so let's get into the most recent quarter. The company had a record revenue quarter, surpassing $10 million in revenue on the quarter. The big question I think everybody had when they looked at the income statement is, of course, the gross margins. They weren't exactly impressive, would be one way of putting it from a quick glance. What can you tell us about these gross margins? And is this the type of gross margin that we can expect moving forward?
Yeah, the margins, it's a great question. And I know some of the feedback that was sent to me kind of post earnings call was, that we're continuing to point to COVID-19 pandemic on margins. So we did go from a minus 9.6 to a plus 3.8. So we did get a decent margin jump. However, the COVID relationship is not that COVID's impacting today. It's that COVID impacted transportation costs when we invested in the inventory last year. So we were doing spot purchases to make sure we could stabilize our supply chain and continue to build out that product availability and production capacity. So as that flows through our system, when we consume those higher priced components and when we consume the higher priced logistics, that hits the gross margin at the point of consumption. So if we spent an extra 8, 9, 10% on a component 8 months ago, and we use that component in the current quarter, that depresses your margin. That's what we're trying to relate back to COVID. Not that it's impacting our purchasing today, not that it's impacting our freight rates today, that it impacted our costs in our rates a year ago when we were investing in the inventory and doing the spot purchases. As we come through that, you account for that today, which is why we had the depression. Going forward, the good news is we do see coming out of the September quarter a double-digit margin on ESS, which is big news for us. And that's kind of consuming all those high-priced components. They're now coming back into standard cost. So we'll see that. Longer term, we can see development activities that we've talked about with Itochu and 24M on battery specific. That will be a big jump on gross margin. Advanced power controls, we've now identified longer term on a 40 to 50% cost reduction opportunity. Those two subassemblies within an ESS system make up about 90% of the cost of the good. So we'll jump into double digits coming out of the September quarter. Longer term, we have development activities that will take much larger chunks of cost out of the product, which will start to take us into those mid-20 range that we've talked about in the past.